All right, here's this video. We're going to start by talking about kind of what's going on in the world right now. We're having a crisis in the world, a worldwide crisis. And we're going to talk a little bit about crisis as seen in art over the past 100 years to our current COVID-19 epidemic. This was about 103 years ago, a reaction to World War II. It's done in the Cubist style. You can see George Grosz showing what an explosion in a wartime would look like. He was in Germany at the time. So after World War II, there began this movement called Dadaism, or Dada. It was a reaction to the craziness of the First World War. And art was a reflection of what was happening at the time. So you can see in this image some crazy combinations of this face with a lot of emotion in it and things across his face and around it. And it's kind of satirical and nonsensical, meaning, it's kind of silly and doesn't make sense and it's confusing. And that's kind of a reflection of what people were feeling during wartime at that time. Here's a collage, a collection of different images here. These were probably cut out of a magazine and glued down at the time, and with a kind of a Dada type title. The title is nonsense. It says, "Cut with the kitchen knife through the first epoch of the weed-marred beard belly culture." And again, it's in reaction to what happened in Germany during World War I when they started this war, and millions of people died tragically. And you can see the word Dada is appearing in here a few times. So this is the type of art it's silly and it's nonsensical. Here's a Dada collage. Took a bunch of eyes from magazines and put them together with flowers and things. Photomontage is not exactly collage. It's using the darkroom where you're taking different negatives and exposing them on top of each other. It's much easier in Photoshop these days, but this is the chemical way they did it like 100 years ago, and they created these nonsensical images. Here's a Dada poem that was taking a passage from like a magazine and crossing out words to create a new set of words in a different meaning. It says, "The void is the ultimate mystic doorway. It allows you to disappear into non-existence against the backdrop of eternity." So you could do this for extra credit. Take a passage in a book and block out words. So, okay. Surrealism started in the 1930s. It kind of grew out of Dadaism, that kind of silly ridiculousness. But one way to think about a definition of surrealism is a movement in the arts, starting in the 1930s in Europe, in art and literature. It's basically having real things placed in unreal situations. It often uses images from dreams or unconscious. The Salvador Dali persistence of memories, you can see the clocks are kind of drooped as if a hard, rigid clock was soft. One's drooped over a branch, one's over the edge of this table, one's over this strange anamorphic type being. Here's the back of a pocket watch that looks very rigid, but it's got these ants crawling on it. There's a fly over on this one. But it's all done in a very, very realistic landscape. So it even adds to the effectiveness of this by having things look so real but unreal at the same time. Here's a Rene Magritte, Lovers. Maybe you've seen this one before. Kind of appropriate for people wearing masks these days. Here's another photo montage. These hands coming out of these rocks and this eye like a sunset looking over them. So they're strange and they're weird, and they're some of these are collages and some of them are photo montages. This is a painting. This is a Salvador Dali painting, a surrealistic painting. He takes a real-looking person, looks like they're busting out of an egg, but the egg also has the world map on this. And this is the geopolitics, this child here who's pointing to the new world. And this person here is an anamorphic person representing the United States. He's coming out of where U.S. would be on the map. And it's kind of the birth of the new man, saying the birth of the United States as being the new world superpower during and after World War II. kind of pointing towards Europe. And you can see this hand is reaching over towards Europe and the blood that was shed during the war and the drip of the South America coming off on here and this strange thing, this strange canopy. But everything is done in such a realistic painting way. I'm going to show you some contemporary art. Now, this is a tragedy that happened in my lifetime, September 11th, 2001. We had airplanes flying into buildings in New York City and in the Pentagon in Washington. And this is a collage. Now, this is a collage in the simplest way, where you're just taking pictures and they're all kind of like parallel to each other, and they're just kind of stacked in rows and columns pretty much. But it's putting a bunch of different images together to make a bigger picture. You know, and what things we see repeated are the flags, red, white, and blue. You see the buildings with the smoke repeated, World Trade Centers. You see other patriotic things like the Statue of Liberty and eagles. And so it's kind of a patriotic message here. The September 11th collage. A collage is an art technique that uses assemblage of different media. So it can be done lots of different ways. You can certainly just cut out pictures from a magazine. That's the way I did it when I was in school. It's a lot easier now with computers. You can certainly cut pictures from that you find in a Google search, which you're going to be doing for this next project. And this person took a picture and they cut it up in different shapes. And then they worked into different drawings into it as well. Here's another September 11th collage. This one used a little more transparency. These images almost seem to kind of blend together. And I'm going to kind of show you how you can do that in your collage when you do your Google drawing. Here's another September 11th collage that uses a bunch of painting around the edge here to kind of hold it in with all these dark images and all these clips from newspapers and magazines showing some of the words and of the ideas at a time of uncertainty. And we must go on the edge, and victims' families, and deadly, suspicious, all these words. And then they show the moment when the airplane hits the World Trade Center here, and they painted some debris coming out of it.